guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm talking about some recent horror reads. First book I'm going to talk about is Road of Bones. This one is the most like a horror movie. This book feels like a found footage movie at first, and then it goes crazy. So this is set on two documentary filmmakers who are trying to film a demo of a show idea that they have for some like travel channel, and it's about this road in Siberia that is very deadly. It's super cold, it's super remote, so if you break down on this road and you have no help, you're basically dead. And so that alone is horrifying. The situation, the conditions are absolutely horrific. And then they meet up with their guide who's going to be showing them around, and he brings them to his hometown, and when they get there, there's no one there. Something's wrong. And then it goes from there. Whew! This one, we're really following these two filmmakers, and they're filming the situation, they're interviewing people, so it does feel kind of like a found footage movie. And when things start to go wrong, they film a little bit of that, but then the found footage aspect is kind of thrown to the wayside, or thrown to the side after, because the characters are fighting for their lives. But what I love about this is it mixes real life horror elements of like brutally cold conditions in this mysterious road that actually exists, and the haunting history of this road with some supernatural elements. It was an interesting story. I thought it was fast-paced once it gets started. There's a lot of dread and tension, and the characters are great. I love that there's not a lot of answers that happen, and I just had an overall good time with this. I think this is the perfect winter read. I know we're heading into spring and summer right now, but I would definitely add this to your winter horror reads for next year. This cover is just so cool too. And this is quick. It's like a little over 200 pages, so you can get through this one fast. Then I read Manhunt by Gretchen Felker-Martin. So I was very excited about this book. It's set in a dystopian world, post-apocalyptic world, where these trans women are basically fighting for their lives against feral men. There's this virus that took over the world and turned men into monsters, basically. And not only do these women have to fight for their lives against these zombie-like men, they also have to worry about TERFs, who are just setting up shop to kill all trans people. Like, they are completely they want to have a war against them. That's what the whole story is about. It's like this war against trans people and TERFs. And it's really an interesting story. I don't think it was what I was looking for. I thought there would be a little bit more horror to it, but this is really mostly about the war between the TERFs and the trans people. It opened my eyes to a lot of things that trans people have to deal with. There's trans characters in here who are really struggling to accept themselves, and there's a lot of body dysmorphia. I thought that was really interesting, and it's interesting that it highlighted the real life horrors that they have to face with these TERFs and these people that would want nothing more for them to be eradicated. Like, that's horrifying. But it was just too much of this dystopian stuff for me, and I realized while reading this, I'm not a huge fan of dystopian horror. It's just, it gets very repetitive to me, and it's just boring, and I don't want to live in that dystopian world. I could really care less. I also thought that the feral men were going to play a bigger part in this, and we would get to see a lot more of that, but it's not really. You see a little bit of that. There's also a lot of sex, and I'm just not into it, okay? I guess I'm a prude. I just don't want to read about sex. And there's a lot of it. There's juices flowing and stuff. I don't want to read about your juices, okay? So anyway, I thought it was an interesting read. Not my favorite. I also found it a little bit wordy. I just couldn't get into it. But it's an interesting concept. Some great representation, I think. I don't know. Let me know, because I don't know. And this cover is really cool. I liked it somewhat, didn't love it as much as I thought I would. Then I read The Other by Thomas Tryon. This is a horror classic. This is featured in Grady Hendrix's Paperbacks from Hell, so that's how I first found out about it. We read it for the Horror in 24 book club, and I really enjoyed it. So this one is really slow, and the only reason I was able to push through and read it was because it was for my book club, and because I read Grady Hendrix's review of it, and he says around page 90 99 or 100 or something is when it takes a turn and you're like, whoa, there's a shocking twist. So I was like, okay, Grady, I'm gonna trust you and I'm gonna keep going. And he was right. So this one is centered on two twin boys. One is pretty much evil and the other is not. He's the good twin. And it explores their dynamic, it explores their family, and it highlights some of the horrific things that the evil twin is doing to people. Like, he's killing people, okay? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. He murders a lot of people. And it's just really interesting. I think that this plays a lot of tricks with your minds because you don't know what's real and what's not, and you don't really know what to believe or who to trust. And there's a twist in this that has become a popular trope now, but I think back when this was written in the 70s, it was shocking to readers. I do think it's a slow burn, it's a character study, it's like a slice of life horror, a psychological horror that really examines trauma, mental illness, and a lot of other things. So I do think this is a really great read if you stick with it. You like wordy stuff, you like beautiful prose, and you like your horror that isn't like over the top in your face. It's more subtle and it takes its time, because this one takes its time. And then I finished it off with Killing Mr. Griffin. This is a book from Lois Duncan, who she's kind of pretty amazing with her writing, and I feel like she doesn't get a lot of credit like R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike do. I feel like she's forgotten a lot, but she was churning them out. She was making some really interesting horror, mystery, suspense books for teens back in the day that were really kind of shocking. This one is about a group of teens who are tired of their teacher. He's kind of a dick, and they are like, we are gonna kidnap him and we're gonna scare him, but things go wrong and they might kill him, and then they have to deal with the aftermath. So similar in fashion to I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was also written by Lois Duncan, these characters have to deal with the aftermath of what happened, and they're haunted by their past. They're haunted by it. And this one is just really dark. It's a downer. There's not a lot of happy things that happen, and it's pretty serious. Like, I was just shocked at just how dark it goes, especially you're dealing with teenagers. And I feel like nowadays a book like this wouldn't fly. There's some truly vile characters in here that are just doing horrible things. It's a little bit unbelievable in a sense of what happens to some of the characters, the repercussions of what happens, but a lot of this stuff, it's just interesting because I could see a situation like this playing out because kids are dumb and they don't use their heads well, and if they act impulsively and they don't think of the consequences, and I think that this was exploring that in a decent way, and we get to see Mr. Griffin and his life outside of school that these kids don't have. So there's a lot of emotional connection with different characters. It was just an interesting read, and it's a quick read. It's like 223 pages. Thought it was interesting. Not my favorite, but I like what she was doing. Those are all my recent reads. I will tell you, I am struggling with reading. It's been hard for me lately. I think I've just been super burned out, so I'm trying to read as much as I can, but it's just not happening. And I think I feel a pressure to read, to talk about it to you guys, because I want to give you some good recommendations, but it's just hard. So please bear with me. I want to do more book content, but it's not been going well for me. So if you have any recommendations for books that are quick, fast-paced, easy to read that will help me get out of this slump, please leave them down below. I want to read some novellas. I need some more. I have so many books. It's insane. Like, why can't I read any of these books? I don't know. I think I just need something fast and short. Please give it to me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you liked this wrap up. Please hit subscribe if you like this, and hit like if you like it. Leave all my social links down below so we can connect on there and talk about books and movies and all of that fun stuff. And I will catch you next time. Bye.